Hello, listener. So, you like scary movies? Well, it is a creepy night, and with all those crazy lunatics out there, well, you really shouldn't be alone. Ooh, you look so freaked out right now. Now I suggest you listen very carefully. Subscribe to Class Horrorcast, or I'll gut you like a fish. Enjoy the show. I'll be watching.
Nathan Baesel is an actor, producer, and post-production coordinator. He has worked on hit shows such as Storage Wars, Deadliest Catch, and 1,000 Ways to Die, but is most known for being the star of the cult classic Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon. The movie and character proved that you can in fact reinvent the wheel. It offers a fresh take on the slasher genre, mixing laughs, scares, and a unique story all wrapped into a mockumentary-style movie. Up next is my chat with Nathan. We get into all things Behind the Mask, what he's been up to recently, what the future will hold, and some fantastic advice for people on following their dreams and passions. You won't want to miss this one. Can you remember the first ever horror movie you ever saw? Or I guess something you would consider your horror-related experience, maybe?
It wasn't a horror movie, but it was a Disney movie, actually. I think it was called Black Bear. I don't remember. I went to a drive-in theater with my parents, and at the time, my sister and I we were relegated to the back of the car because we had kind of a large family, and and I just remember, put my head under the covers in the back because what I was seeing on the screen was just too horrifying to conceive of, and it was just a bear attacking a family in a cabin, and I wouldn't call it a horror movie, but what I was reacting to was pretty much the scene that happens in horror movies that grabs kids anyway. Is just something relentlessly attacking, and a family fighting for their life, that kind of thing.
It's
the first real horror movie I saw was probably Nightmare on Elm Street.
Did that I guess draw you into the genre or push you away?
I guess push away because I'm really, really I'm a scaredy cat, and horror movies tend to really push my buttons, and that's what they're designed to do. I'm such a control freak. I don't like having my buttons pushed. So
yeah, I get that.
I have tended to steer away from horror movies. Although when I did Behind the Mask, I quickly realized that I was going to be expected to know things about the genre. I took it serious to try to find out what the heck I was talking about, and reference and then watch some of the movies that I was referencing in the movie and that had been referenced around the movie. So yeah, I've been trying to learn.
It's funny to hear you say that, because I would imagine that everybody who's familiar with your name and what you're most notable for within the horror world, I would imagine would think the exact opposite of what you just said.
Well, a lot of the presumption would be based on me talking smartly about things that I am supposed to know about in the movie, but that was all in the script. That was written for me. Those were words that were prepared by somebody who had spent years studying the genre and the conventions and all that stuff. They gave me the words to say, and I was just supposed to say them in a believable way. And I guess I convinced people that I was knowledgeable, but it wasn't until after the movie, really, that my education began.
And I guess my question leading on from that then will probably be, how did you come across the project, or maybe more so, what drew you to the project, considering that you weren't a huge horror buff beforehand?
The prospect of a job drew me to the project. I just wanted a job. I just wanted to work, and this script I got from my agent, and it was an audition opportunity, like hundreds of other audition opportunities that I got. This just happened to be the first film that I ever booked, and I was aware when I read the script how unique an opportunity it was for me as an actor who didn't really have any kind of filmography that somebody could reference. This would be an amazing opportunity to build a filmography in one film. I could have an opportunity to do documentary-style acting, filmic style acting, all of those mashed up, and a huge amount of screen time, camera time, which for an actor is, you just don't get opportunities like that very often, not in the volume that I got with this film. So I knew from early on that it was a fantastic opportunity for me. It was a matter of booking it and sealing the deal on the opportunity, and that was a typical audition process, and I got it.
Do you, without sounding negative, I guess, or trying to bring up anything that's not there, do you think that having that role and the success that your character and your performance in that movie had, has that helped or hindered you? Do you feel a little bit, I don't want to say typecast, but you definitely sit there when people think of horror icons, Freddy, Jason, Michael, that character and your performance as that character, I think more so, because recently I'd seen you'd done a little skit with the Dead Meat YouTube channel.
Yeah, that was the first appearance of Leslie Vernon following Behind the Mask, I guess.
Yeah, and like that gave me goosebumps, and I just from the rumblings online, you can still see the character, but like I said, more so you. It feels like I guess a Robert Englund playing Freddy Krueger. I don't think anybody can envision the character coming back if it's not played by you. Do you think that hindered you in any way, or is that something that you welcome?
I don't think so, in terms of typecasting or anything like that. I mean, my professional acting career was relatively short. I haven't been acting professionally for, over a decade, and so it's not anything that has prevented me from getting roles or anything like that. But if anything, it was a fantastic calling card. Like I said, it was a lot of screen time, and actors, dearly wish to have, most actors anyway, dearly wish to have some footage that they can, pull something from and cobble together into an acting reel so that they can promote themselves. Just having some footage that they can salvage from a project that they did, that would work for an acting reel. I mean, that whole movie was an acting reel for me. So in that sense, I couldn't have had better promotion for what I do, and my style of acting. I guess I'm considering more and more strongly lately getting back out into acting, and I couldn't think of, again, a better calling card, a better example of who I am and what I do than that movie. Now it's about 15 years dated, and it doesn't really show who I am now today, but yeah, it's a great reference for who I was then.
Was it a scary experience? I know you had done some things before that, and I guess you were highly skilled. I don't know if that's the word, coming into that point, but was there a pressure to perform? You got this lead role, and basically you're on screen for 99% of the movie.
A lot of it, yeah. I guess I didn't really feel that, because from the early stages, from even the audition process, it felt like my stance was, if they're going to cast me for this role, they're going to cast me because everything that I'm doing, the kind of choices that I'm presenting are going to take them down a road that's different than the road they would, they've been imagining for this thing. I was aware that I was with the choices that I was making, I was taking them in a very different direction, and just whether or not they were going to cast me was going to be based on whether or not they embraced the direction that I was asking them to go. And they gave me the role. And so from that point on, I was like, okay, my choices, my interest in taking this character in this direction has been embraced by them, and so I'm good to go. I've been given the green light, so nothing that I can do is going to be off, incorrect, not appropriate. I've basically been given the green light to just go with it, and so I felt like I had so much support to just continue going down the road that I'd already set.
And how much of the character, personality-wise and things like that, would you say was solely from your decision, your creation?
Well, I think if you read the script, there's humor in it, there's menace in it, but my thinking was, when we were doing the casting of it, my thinking was they're either going to go the obvious direction with like a big hulking 6 foot plus 200 and something plus, dude who's just, you look at him and you go, whoa, this is scary. And which that made sense to me. That you read the script, that makes sense. Or they're going to be okay with me as a 5 foot something, less than 6 foot guy, who I don't care about menace. I don't feel like I need to terrorize anybody because I don't. I think something that helped their selection process was a lot of actors were going. I could even hear them on the other side of the audition wall. When other people were in their audition, I could hear on the other side of the wall they were screaming and and they were just so. And that's not scary to me. That's always a demonstration of somebody who feels a lack of power. Is somebody who screams and somebody who tries to instill fear in somebody else. That always reeks of desperation to me, and the exact opposite of the qualities that they're trying to project. My sense of the character was he doesn't need to be performatively evil because he's not trying to appeal to anybody or convince. He's just going to do what he's going to do, and you're either going to be in the way or you're going to get out of the way. It's simple. It's so simple. I don't have to try to convince somebody of my power because it's undebatable.
Yeah, I guess
so. You're either gonna be in my way or you're gonna get out of it.
Yeah, and that's why I kind of liken it to, a Robert Englund / Freddy Krueger style of character. He doesn't have that, huge hulking figure, but there's just something there. And I think a lot of it, like I said earlier, lies in you as the character, the personality, the little characteristics and things that I think would be extremely hard to replicate if there was to be a prequel or a sequel or something like that, and somebody else was to step into that role, I just don't think it would have the same effect, and I just don't think from a fan and a community and culture standpoint that would go over very well.
Well, it would be interesting to see somebody else's take on it, I guess. But I feel like what has spoken to the people that this movie speaks to about the character, about Leslie Vernon, is not that he's this guy who does these horrible, evil things, and it's that we have grown over the course of the film to identify with this person, that we could only do that if we cared about him, and humor helps in the caring process. Ultimately, his guard is down, and he's letting the documentary crew and ultimately the audience in. He's just throwing the doors open, and he's saying, "This is who I am, and this is what I'm about." And putting the guard down like that allows the audience, I think, over the course of time to connect with character and maybe even embrace the character. And I feel like that when he starts doing some of the things that he's been talking about doing all this time, that is very confronting for an audience. And I really like that. I think that's a really interesting quality, but you can only have that quality. You can only have the audience kind of fighting with themselves over their feelings about the character and what he's doing. If you have an audience that cares about the character, and I felt again like this was a unique opportunity to have an audience build a relationship with the character and then turn that relationship on its head in the last act.
Yeah. How long after the movie release did it take for you to kind of realize that what you had done was becoming such a huge thing within the community?
I don't know. I mean, the whole fanfare of everything initially was totally weird, because again, it was my first time being through all of that, and like red carpets and things like that. I'd never done anything like that. But going to a local theater and seeing my movie, on the marquee, it had never happened to me before. But when we started building up an online kind of presence, Ain't It Cool News, I think, did a really amazing job out of South by Southwest Festival to start getting that buzz going for us. And yeah, the life of the movie on the internet just really, really took off. I felt like we were connecting with fans, not just horror fans, but horror fans who were getting, I don't know, touched in a special way by the movie, it felt like, because the movie's not a conventional horror film, but it hits all those sweet spots for horror fans, in that it deals with horror convention, and it felt like the movie, with the enthusiasm that it was being embraced by the horror fans, it felt like we had something special, and if we could just keep the ball rolling on it, then we might really be able to make an impact. As it turned out, theatrically, we did not make an impact, but over the course of the years, as the ball kept on rolling, the snowball kept going downhill and growing bigger, and it I don't know, within a few years, started getting spoken about as a cult classic. And, I guess that's what it takes is a few years, sometimes decade to get that cult status designation. But yeah, finally we got it.
It reminds me of another horror movie I'm not sure if you've ever heard of, Trick or Treat, which also has a huge cult following that everybody is looking for a sequel. And I guess I would imagine everybody would have their pitchforks out if I don't ask this question. But are we any closer to seeing Leslie Vernon back? Or
No, we're not any closer. It was a huge undertaking making that first film happen, and fortunately, I didn't have to be on the committees of people who were involved in pre-production stuff and the money raising and all that stuff. It's just not my wheelhouse. Scott Glosserman, the director, he was the executive producer and lead fundraiser, and from that point of getting, raising the money to the post-production part of it, putting it out there, getting it released. I don't know how he did it, because he was largely responsible for all of the stages of that process. And I think he would have to put his life on hold for another couple years to make a sequel happen. He's got a couple of kids. He's got a wife. He's got another business. I don't see him putting his life on the back burner for years anytime soon. That said, there's a lot of fantastic trends that have been happening in entertainment in general, but specifically in horror, and I think that there are interesting ways that the Behind the Mask ball can continue rolling in a way that's much less inhibited, like you would be with a massive production. You can get stuff done on the cheap now, guerrilla style, that you I don't know, you didn't have permission to do maybe a decade ago. So those are avenues that I'm interested in exploring. And I've been doing some writing to see how that experiment might play out in the Behind the Mask universe. It's the scripts aren't anywhere at a shareable state, but it's been a good experiment to see how we can keep the story of Leslie Vernon alive without a whole bunch of resources.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I see online a lot of times, people bring up maybe a series. I know a lot of different slashers. I know what you did last summer, Chucky, all these different things are getting TV show. Well, Amazon Prime exclusives and different things like that. And a lot of people mention Shudder is another place. And I think a lot of people are holding out hope that somewhere along the line somebody can step forward maybe and link up with you guys and get this thing done.
Well, something funny is that the kill count video that I did on the YouTube thing, it was bizarre because it was such a lesson in the power of YouTube. I hadn't been involved in something that was that impactful. The Friday that it posted, suddenly my phone started blowing up and I didn't understand what the hell was going on. And it was all these friend requests, and that whole weekend, it was almost comical. I set my phone out on the table. My boys and I were just we were trying to do our life, but every now and then the phone would just distract us. The fact that it was continuing to blow up with friend requests, and it was just people who had seen the millions of people who had seen that video. And I just, social media is so bizarre to me, and something I haven't really wrapped my head around. I'm so old school and curmudgeonly that I haven't really gotten around to embracing new media as fully as I should, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But something that was really funny to me was that Scott Glasserman reached out to me because his phone was blowing up too from this little cameo that I did as Leslie Vernon. He was, getting blindsided by all of this, fervor of activity all of a sudden out of nowhere, and I think he probably found that pretty exciting as well. Might have even, I don't know, lit the fire under him to see what social media avenues might be out there to, keep the ball rolling. But we'll see.
That sounds interesting. I know there's another company, they have a huge social media presence, Crypt TV. They've done a lot of things recently as well. It really is. And watching that kill count, I actually had no idea that there was going to be a cameo at the end, and I genuinely, it was one of those goosebumps moments where you're like, oh my god. and the, I guess, 20 seconds, 30 seconds of dialogue or whatever, it just reminded me, I was like, oh, this could be so good. It still has its thing. It hasn't worn off. It's exactly how I pictured it would be.
Just a lot grayer, more gray hair, more wrinkle, less hair.
But even that little interaction, was that something that they had come up with, or did you just kind of off the cuff just come up with the lines?
No, that had been written by James, who does Kill Count, and I was just trying to wrap my mouth around the script that he'd given me as imperfectly as I did. I think I tried my best version of improvisation / memorization with his script, but yeah, no, that's something that James prepared.
So I have a couple of questions, fan questions, I guess you could call them, kind of quick fire questions. Somebody asked, what is your favorite horror movie of all time, and what is your favorite non-horror movie?
Probably, well, I would say, okay, so I don't know, I wouldn't say that this is like the greatest horror movie of all times, but when I think of my favorite movies, I think of the movies that I could watch on a loop, my loop movies, which aren't always the greatest movie there, but they're just those are the movies that I could just leave running 24/7, in the background. And actually, not even in the background. If it was running, I'd watch it, because it's. So Exorcist is that movie for me. Also, I think Silence of the Lambs, though it's not a traditional horror film, there's a lot of slasher similarities and convention borrowing that it does, and that's definitely another loop movie for me. But favorite any movie, any genre movie, poof. Oh boy,
that's a tough one.
Well, yeah, I'd have to probably do a top 5. I'd probably have to do, and I know I'm going to leave stuff out, but Big Lebowski, Godfathers 1 and 2, Hunt for Red October, Die Hard. Yeah,
there's some solid choices.
Those are my tops. Yeah.
Somebody else asked, who inspires you?
I guess acting wise.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really follow actors as oh, this actor, oh, anything they do is is gilded in gold. I don't. My standard is pretty much universally. I'm interested and attracted to acting that surprises me.
Mm-hmm.
And generally that happens with actors who surprise themselves and so necessarily must surprise the audience because they have no idea what, they're not managing the results. They're not working an agenda. They're not in their own way. They're a little reckless and a little dangerous, and you just don't really know what's going to come around the corner next. That's the acting that tends to turn me on, and the kind of projects that get me interested.
Somebody else asks, you may laugh at this, but I actually think that they were being genuinely serious. Could you please ask how he became such a good actor?
Well, I went to school for a long, long time. I did about 10 years of college. And of those 10 years, 8 of them were seriously dedicated towards trying to better my acting. So I guess I took the craft seriously. Mm-hmm. And then after school, it was a matter of trying to fill all that technique with a lot of truthfulness. And I would say that my acting now is better than it's ever been because I think I'm a more fully realized human being than I've ever been. And I think that must then necessarily show up in my work. So yeah, that's what my project has been for, the last however many years has been to find and continually try to uncover a better, more fully realized version of me. And then that just by default has to improve my acting.
Somebody else says that I followed your story and it seems that you've always tried to achieve exactly what you wanted to. I am also on the path to this, following what some would call an unconventional dream. Not many in my circles agree with what I am doing, but I feel like I am not alive if I don't pursue it. Do you have any advice for somebody for following these goals or dreams?
That sounds like they're already doing it. I mean, there's just all kinds of people out there, especially in the entertainment industry, the acting industry. There are all kinds of people that'll tell you what the formula is, what their version of the right way to pursue your career and all that. I just I don't subscribe to any kind of. We're all completely unique individuals, and I feel like anybody who's trying to sell you on the way, they're trying to sell you. That's their agenda. Their agenda isn't to improve your situation or your skills or your career as much as their own. There's no trick. The trick is to be you. And there and that sounds like a no-brainer. That sounds like a simple thing to do and duh. But I think a lot of people spent last year without a whole bunch of the distractions that we have relied on to kind of not spend time with ourselves, and being forced to spend time with ourselves in in quiet and contemplation, I think a lot of people found that really, really difficult. Well, why would that be? Because we don't really spend a whole lot of time in quiet and contemplation. We spend a lot of time avoiding it.
Mm-hmm.
I think being us is a really, truly hard thing to do. And I think the more us we can be, the better that's going to reflect us in our work. And that must necessarily be the right approach.
I'm not sure if I'm right in saying this, but have you had, I guess, instances in your life where the dream seemed maybe really far away, or it was very difficult to maybe try and get where you wanted to go, or maybe people, loved ones, friends, whatever, didn't really get what you were trying to do? How did you, I guess, keep yourself on your path and not let that affect you?
Yeah, well, the film Behind the Mask was, I feel like a very large part of the reason why there was a synthesis between the character and I, as good as it was, as thorough as it was because I didn't have to be anything different than myself. I wasn't being asked to be any different than myself. And what myself was an ambitious actor who was hoping for success and hoping for, this one job that was just going to be my platform and just launch me into the stratosphere. Well, Behind the Mask, for me, that was that opportunity. And who am I playing in that movie but a character who's in the exact same situation, just about, on the precipice, ready to launch himself into the stratosphere, into the pantheon of slasher greats. And it's just this job. It's all he's got to do is execute perfectly, and he'll be there, and many moments in the movie were really personal for me because it felt like I'm right there. I can taste it. I can taste if we do this, if we all just do our jobs right, this movie is gonna just,
Mm-hmm.
Well, it didn't do that. It didn't do that, and I was hugely disappointed. I was not the only one. There was a lot of people with this film that just felt like, man, this is going to be my calling card, and boom, I'm going to make it. Well, I didn't make it, and that was tremendously dispiriting, and I went through a depression for a long while, and went on the wagon for a while because of things, and it just. But that's what happens. That's life. And so how do you bounce back from that? People have talked about what a sequel for Behind the Mask would be, and I feel like a critical part of whatever that sequel would be has to acknowledge the fact that Leslie thought that he was going to be, the next face on a box of Wheaties, and he wasn't, and he had to be confronted by failure and self-doubt, and I feel like that's something that we all have to deal with, and so we'll all be able to relate to
Mm-hmm.
somebody who's in the situation of they were there and thought that they were going to make it, and they didn't, and they jumped off the diving board and there was no water in the pool, and they hit hard, and they had to figure out what to do next. Do they pick themselves up, or do they just lay in the bottom of the pool and wallow? And I think that is a real world thing that just about everybody, in fact, hopefully everybody, would be able to identify with and hopefully get some kind of inspiration from.
Yeah, I definitely, and I think that, like you mentioned there, if it were to go down that route, that you would have a lot of insight into making it real and something that's relatable, which I think is what resonated with the character in the first movie. Somebody else asked if you could cross over the Leslie Vernon character with any other existing horror icon, who would you choose and why?
I guess I'd have to say Nightmare, just because Robert, it's too yummy of a prospect to have, Robert Englund as basically, the Donald Pleasance role in Halloween, in our movie, but he's obviously Robert Englund, who is obviously Freddy Krueger, who we obviously reference in our universe that we're playing in. It would be too yummy to pass up an opportunity to confuse genre fans by mashing up Doc Halloran with whatever the Freddy Krueger legend, legacy is.
Another one. If you could play another horror icon, who would you like to play?
Jeez.
I think you'd make a really good Freddy.
I was just thinking, I'm not really built like most of those stalking slasher hulking figures. I'm just not built like that. I wouldn't buy me as a Jason. I wouldn't buy me as a Mike Myers, but I could buy me as a Freddy.
So could I, because I think personality sells a lot of Freddy as well, and it's something that you really, that you really gave with the Leslie Vernon character, and I think that's why people associate you specifically. It's not just, and I don't mean to take anything away from those other slashers, but it's not just a guy in a mask. It's a person. It's an actual personality. It's not just the mask and the costume.
Right. And he is definitely the character that you think of when you think of personality in the slasher genre, because especially as the films went on, it became more and more the man behind the mask. I mean, obviously Freddy doesn't wear a mask, but you see more and more of the man as the series goes on.
So I guess since all the craziness with behind the mask and everything that's gone on with that, where did you go from there then, when it became apparent that we weren't going to do a sequel or a prequel or whatever in subsequent years?
Yeah, I was doing TV at the time, and that both Behind the Mask and the greatest TV gig I'd had up to that point were kind of running in parallel, and both those ended right around the same time, and I was really despondent and confused and trying to hustle up the next job and whatnot. I went into a bit of a spiral, and the spiral resulted in me seeing more and more that I'm not cut out for certain aspects of the industry, and that was very confronting and also really liberating when I realized that I just can't do all the. I'm not good at hearing no all the time, and that's what you're hearing a lot of times as an actor. Is you're just actually a lack of no. You're not hearing anything. You're just hearing crickets chirping. That's a lot of what acting is professionally. Is the time in between your jobs, and I realized, one, I'm not cut out for hearing no all the time, and two, I'm not cut out. I don't have. It's not in my wheelhouse to be to structure my time and my. I'm not. I'm not really good about organizing my time in a productive way. I think that's why acting appealed to me, was because I just wanted to show up and just be told what to do, just go there, say these words, that's what I want. Somebody else who's going to, they're going to do all the work of lining up the job and, making all the accounting things happen. And all I got to do is just show up and say words. When I didn't have somebody telling me what to do, I didn't have a whole lot to fill the vacuum with on my own. I ended up just walking away from things for a while, trying to figure out who I was, really. I kind of went on a bit of a spiritual hiatus, journey, I guess. And I feel like I've learned a lot, and I've come full circle, and in doing that, I've considered a lot more recently that I think I got my head screwed on straight now, and I think I could probably handle a lot of those conditions that I was suffering under in my professional acting career, the early stages of it. I think I could probably manage that a lot better. I know that I can handle it a lot better now than I did then, but I think I could sustain it for a while. And so we'll see. It's, you're always growing and you're always evolving. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Is it something that, when you stepped away, I know obviously you had your own reasons for doing so, but was it something that was kind of burning inside you a little bit? Was there a part of you that was always yearning to go back? And
No, because a lot of the reason that I did it in the first place was for the ego satisfaction, and I realized at a certain point when it became hard to pay bills and pay rent and this and that. I had a family. I had 2 boys and a wife, and my considerations were far more expansive than just my ego. I had a family to take care of, and it wasn't it wasn't a hard choice for me to walk away when I did. I had an offer of a 9-to-5 job that would pay well enough to, pay the bills and keep the family going. And it was the easiest choice I ever made. And in that time since, I have learned how to divorce myself from my ego enough, I think, to be able to work in a completely different way, one that is so much less about me and so much more about what is around me and who is around me, and I think that's improved the quality of my acting tremendously. The more I've just kicked ego to the back of the bus, the more I've been able to feel more present in my life and also in my acting. So it's an unconventional journey that I've been on for sure, but it's one that has led to a lot more firm footing than I had back then.
Because since then you've worked on Deadliest Catch, Storage Wars, a lot of shows like that.
Yeah, right? I've worked behind the scenes, on reality TV stuff.
How did that come about? Because there's a lot of big shows, and obviously they're probably huge in the States, but I know over here in Ireland and in Europe, those shows, even now, even the old seasons, are still like as big as ever. How did that all come to be, and how was that experience?
Well, it started off with a friend of mine offering me the perfect actor's job, which was, you work at night. It was like a low-level kind of editing job on these shows for this company that produces these shows, Deadliest Catch, Ice Road Truckers, Bering Seagull, Storage Wars. I got to work a job at night so that it left my days free to do auditioning, even take a job if something came up. And because it was such a low level job that I was doing at this company, I could take off for a couple weeks at a time and still come back and just slide right back into my old job. There was flexibility like that, and it was great. It saved me from having to take like a restaurant job or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then after Behind Mask and after some TV jobs, when work was just getting really tight and it was hard to make ends meet, the offer came up for a 9-to-5 job at this company, a staff job. It was the first office job that I'd ever, entertained doing, but it was going to pay well, and there was going to be benefits and all that stuff. And so, yeah, I stepped away from acting because the paycheck that I was offered at this company that was ideal, and it's been ideal enough that 10 years later I'm still working at this company. Mm-hmm. It's the hardest job to leave because
that's good.
It just makes life manageable for me, and I didn't realize how much I value security until I actually had it, and a lot of things started making sense for me when I started feeling relief in my life because I wasn't having to look over my shoulder for where the next job was going to be coming from.
Yeah, and I think that ties into a lot of the questions that I got were surrounding people following dreams, unconventional things, maybe like acting, directing, writing, different things like that. And I think a lot of times people don't realize that lack of safety net can be a very scary thing and mess with people's heads, and they don't even realize maybe. And it's not as it. That's why I think it's been quite refreshing to talk to you today, because it shows people that it's not. I'm sure a lot of people look at Behind a Mask and different things and think, oh my God, that life is so great, and you've got this job and you're working on, post-production on TV shows, these huge TV shows, everything must be just perfect all the time. And it's like, no, I've got real struggles and I needed to do things for me, or I needed to create a situation that was a bit more stable or a bit more. But that I think that's key is for people to know that it's not just, it can't be just like the movies, unfortunately, where, you quit your job and become a Hollywood movie star or whatever. Worldwide.
It can be like that. I've got friends that have had a very fortunate experience in their career with a trajectory that just keeps on going up and up and up and up. But something that I have learned about myself is that, especially in that early phase of my career, I wasn't cut out for success. Where I went, the places I went to, again, it was an ego thing, but the doors that opened up to me with success, I walked through every one of them, and I had such a consumptive attitude towards things. I just wanted it all, just eat it, every ounce of leverage that I got because of the film, I leveraged it to the extent I could, and I was leveraging it for really venal means. I wasn't cut out to do well in success. There's so much work that I've had to do to get related to myself, so that I could be me and not be at the mercy of the appetites of ego.
Yeah.
I feel like I could handle success in a different way now. But yeah, I said that after, Behind the Mask and a lot of the TV work that I was doing, I said that, the lack of opportunity after that, kind of sent me into a spiral, but the spiral was already happening even when Behind the Mask was going on and my TV work and stuff too, because I was, yeah.
So I guess on a final note, if you could offer some tips or maybe pitfalls to watch out for someone who's, getting to those stages, whether it be, they've had a script picked up or something like that, what advice would you give to either the younger you or somebody else who's out there now who's about to get their shot?
Boy, I don't know. I've thought many times about what it would be like if I went back in time and had a conversation with my younger self, and just about every time I consider it, I think nobody's getting out of that conversation without getting punched in the teeth. One of us, either the older version of myself or the younger version of myself, is getting a smack, and I don't know who's going to deliver it and who's going to receive it, but I don't know that I would have listened to myself if I were trying to give myself sage advice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I would have been able to hear it, even if I did listen.
Yeah.
But I feel like now I have so much more of an interest in trying to curate a life that is simple, that is worthy, that is a contribution.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that my work is stronger because of that. My advice, I guess, then would be to do the best job being you that you can do. And then watch how that translates into the work, because it will. It has to. If you're doing well, your work is going to be well. And if you're not doing well, your work is going to reflect it. So take care of you, and maybe simplify life to the extent you can, without driving yourself crazy with silence. I've learned to love silence, and it's something that I largely avoided up until a little over a year ago. But quiet and contemplation is my friend now, and I think it's strengthened my work because of it.
Yeah, that's really refreshing to hear, and like you said at the start, it seems like such an obvious, simple thing, when we hear the cliche, just be you or be yourself or be true to yourself. But I do definitely think that there's a lot deeper meaning to what you've just said there than some quote from a book or a movie.
Well, because you can turn all the noise off and be true to yourself. What does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? Everybody says it, be true to yourself. What does that mean? When we're spending 90% of our time trying to avoid being with ourselves. Do we even know what be ourselves means, you know? Well, spend some time and be with yourself for a while, you know, and avoid doing, you know, avoid doing something for a while, you know, sit yourself down in the chair and look out the window and do that for the length of a cup of coffee without checking your phone.
Yeah.
And if you can pull that off, you know, if you can pull off the length of a cup of coffee, you know, staring out a window and just thinking thoughts, you know, great. If you can't do that, take a look at it, you know, and then maybe do 2 cups of coffee, you know, or not coffee, tea, whatever is going to keep you from, you know, your head flying off your shoulders, you know.
You're definitely onto something there, and that was something only at the start of I've tried to pull as many good things from this whole crazy year and a half that we've had. It was something I had realized that I couldn't at one point wake up in the morning, do my small morning routine and have a cup of coffee without constantly being attached to my phone and exposing myself to all this negativity like instantly. And to be able to reel back over the last year or so and kind of take away a lot of those distractions, I guess, like you said. And I realized I did wake up at one point at the start of all this lockdown, and I ended up losing my apartment and all this stuff went on. And I remember just looking in the mirror and I was like, I don't even know who the fuck I am. I had a really hard time, you know, because I would always hear, be yourself, or I thought I was myself, and I was like, I actually don't really even know who I am or what I want to do or what makes me happy or what I should be doing. And I definitely think there's a lesson in simplifying, slowing down, and just try and take a look at those little things, because I don't think we realize in modern day, but the accumulation of all those little things is a major problem.
Oh man, my 14-year-old has a cell phone, and I just see him reflexively doing this, you know, and I know that it's going to be a problem, and it's something that we've got to start working on now, because at a certain point, if not already, he's going to find it's difficult, if not impossible, for him to not look at his phone. You know, that's his structure, that's his framework, that's his go-to, and it's his safety net. So that he doesn't have to be. And this is a direct counter to any ability that he's going to have to just be this, and to just be still, and to be still, and to breathe, and to not do. I want him to learn how to not do, and all of the little pinging, and all of the little hits, and all of the little adrenaline rushes, and all the little whatevers that he gets from doing this. Boy, that's just that's going to be the beast that he's going to have to slay at some point.
Yeah, it's tough, because I don't think it's ever, maybe only in recent years, it's really been addressed as an actual potential addiction, or what it actually does to your mind and just your body in general. Like, you get a physical reaction to these things. But it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. On a final note, I guess we'll leave it on something a little bit more maybe less mundane. But so what does the future look like for you? What would you like to do, or where would you like to go from here, and what can people expect to see?
Well, I'm doing a show a play right now, The Crucible. I'm doing it in my hometown, and it's just a little small theater, and this isn't the end all be all for me, but it has been a really great opportunity to work on a piece of theater that is very meaty, because it's given me an opportunity to see where I'm at in my acting right now. Because after COVID, I just, a lot of things changed. A lot of me changed. And so it was really great to check in with my work and see how that's translated from my life into my work, And I've been very encouraged by the results. It feels like the quality of the work is easier. It's easier. It's more effortless. It's fuller. It's more me, more organic. I'm more fully real. It's been really encouraging to see me show up more in the work, and it has turned me on to the idea of doing more work. And I don't exactly know what form that's going to take, but I'm kind of easing back out into the water, dipping my toe in the water and checking the temperature of doing more work. If I can get to a place where I can do professional acting again and get back out into auditioning for stuff, that would be cool. But it's gonna require me doing my baby steps and just kind of easing myself out into the world. There's been a lot of comfort in the shelter of COVID, but now that I'm getting plugged back into the world more and more, and the noise of the world is working on me more and more, there's more balls to juggle and things to manage, but so far so good, and if I can just keep doing more work, one step at a time, then maybe I can build back up to a running speed.
Well, I know that everybody listening to this is probably just waiting for the day that we hopefully get some sort of teaser trailer or a poster or artwork or something from either you or somebody involved.
We'll get something together. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen eventually. It's gonna take some time, and I'm totally fine with things taking time.
Yeah, I think that's good. Is there potential that we may see you, if things go right and you take the necessary steps and you feel like this is something you might enjoy doing again? Would there be potential to see you in maybe some other horror movies? I know you would probably like to branch out and do other things, but is there potential to see you in something else?
No, I've got no problem with doing more horror. I would love to be involved in the genre. I haven't been the greatest about putting my hand in the air and saying, horror genre, I'm ready to act again,
Yeah.
But we'll have this be that. Well, this is my hand up to the horror genre, saying, horror genre, I'm ready to act again.
Because I really feel like within obviously in acting and in the movie business in general, I would say this, but definitely within the horror genre, I always felt like that you have the potential to be one of those elite names, I guess. Those people that seem to be able to replicate the stuff time and time again. You've got your Kane Hodders. They're all known for different things. Bill Moseley, Sid Haig. And I definitely think that you still have the potential. I think the kill count really, for anyone who hasn't seen that, they need to go on YouTube, type in Dead Meat Behind the Mask kill count. That cameo at the end, I think, if that didn't rumble everybody and anybody who wants to make this project happen, should make this project happen, like, that was a definite goosebumps moment for me. And I think there's a lot of other people who I had read through the tens of thousands of comments, very few negative, and a lot just, when will we get a sequel? When will we get a prequel? When can we get you back on screen? fingers crossed that, like you said, I know it is going to take time. I'm happy to hear you say that at some point we'll get something. And maybe we can do this again when that happens.
Sure. Yeah, I look forward to it.
Is there somewhere that people can support you or anything you would like to plug before we finish up?
Not really. I mean, I got social media pages. I don't really follow them too closely, but and I certainly don't post as often as maybe I should. I don't know, but I don't know. So, unplugging myself from social media has been really great too. So good to just not be at the mercy of pings. But I am doing a show right now. This is closing weekend of The Crucible in Fullerton, California, Orange County, California. So if any of your fans find themselves in Southern California this weekend, I'm doing work on a show that I'm proud of. Other than that, I'll try to get better about posting after this show's over.
I definitely get where you're coming from with the social media, though. I know a lot of people probably won't like to hear that, but it's so nice to just not have that existing constantly in your life all the time.
It's too much for me. I didn't realize how sensitive I was to all of that busyness until I got some distance from it over this last year. And the more distance I got from it, the more I realized, man, it's really hard for me to manage all of the stuff that happens with social media activity. It's not for me. If I got good enough in my career to hire somebody to just handle that aspect for me, that would be awesome. I would love that, so that I would never have to go on social media again. That would be just awesome.
I can 100% attest to that. So the links for Nathan's social medias will be down below, but as he said, he's not super active on there, but if somebody wants to go and check it out, I will also leave the link for Behind the Mask and some of Nathan's other work. And just once again, man, I've been a fan for a long, long time. I genuinely didn't think I would ever see the day where I would get to speak to you, albeit virtually. I'm glad to see you're doing well. I know the horror community can't wait to see what you're going to do next. And all the best and stay safe.
Thanks, Aaron. You too. And I appreciate you reaching out.
Thanks, man.
Evil wears many masks, but pure horror wears only one. Support First Class Horror on Patreon for as little as $1. Can't get enough of the horror? Carve yourself a deal from official merchandise, only on Teespring. Join us on all social media at First Class Horror. We have such sights to show you.